On behalf of the numerous co-authors of House Bill number 9349, or the Absolute Divorce Bill, I would like to extremely thank the Speaker and the Majority Leader for finally allowing the long-awaited measure to be sponsored and deliberated on in this plenary. Very briefly, the salient factors relative to the Absolute Divorce Bill are as follows. 1. Absolute divorce is not a foreign concept to Filipinos. Our pre-Spanish ancestors practiced divorce, which was available to both husband and wife. During the American occupation, we had limited absolute divorce based on the final conviction of a spouse for adultery or concubinage. The Japanese occupation expanded the grounds for divorce to include, among others, attempt of one spouse against the life of the other, contagious diseases contracted by either spouse, incurable insanity, repeated physical violence, and abandonment for 3 consecutive years. 2. Except for the Philippines and the tiny ecclesiastical Vatican City State, all countries worldwide, including all Catholic countries, have legalized divorce in varying degrees of liberality or strictness. Verily, there can be no unanimity in blunder for institutionalizing divorce, which was established shortly after the institution of marriage because of human frailty and mundane shortcomings afflicting marriages. 3. In the Philippines, the Muslims are granted the right to divorce. Even in the family code of the Philippines, the quote, canonical divorce, unquote, of the Catholic hierarchy is copied under Article 36 in the dissolution of marriage based on psychological incapacity of either or both spouses. 4. The fact that all Catholic countries, except the Philippines and the Vatican, have allowed divorce is a categorical testament that divorce is not against the Catholic faith and the doctrine of the Church. No less than Pope Francis has liberalized his stance on divorce and divorces. 5. Absolute divorce is not for everybody. Let me repeat this. Absolute divorce is not for everybody. The overwhelming majority of Filipino marriages are happy, enduring, and loving. They do not need the divorce law. An absolute divorce law is urgently necessary in marriages which have totally collapsed and are beyond repair, where the majority of the victims are the wives who have been subjected to cruelty, violence, infidelity, and abandonment. 6. While the state continues to uphold marriage as a social institution and the foundation of the family, the state has the responsibility of rescuing spouses and their children from a house on fire. 7. Children are also the beneficiaries of divorce, according to empirical studies in progressive countries, because they become more resilient and are freed from the torment and exposure to marital conflicts and discords affecting their well-being. 8. Divorce proceedings undergo a judicial process, and quickie, notarial, email, and drive-through divorces are prohibited. 9. In addition to the grounds for dissolution of marriage based on psychological incapacity, annulment of marriage, and legal separation as amended, additional grounds for divorce have been included. A. Separation in fact for at least 5 years and reconciliation is not anymore possible. B. Legal separation for more than 2 years. C. Sex reassignment surgery or sex transition. D. Irreconcilable marital differences. And E. Other domestic or marital abuse. 10. Harsh penalties are imposed on colluding spouses. 11. In the grant of absolute divorce, no marriage is destroyed because the union has long perished. 12. According to the Supreme Court in Te versus Te, the dissolution of a marriage is a merciful interment of a long-dead union. 13. A law on absolute divorce is constitutional. Let me repeat this. A law on absolute divorce is constitutional. The commissioners of the 1986 Constitutional Convention, under the leadership of Father Joaquin Bernas, were unanimous in declaring that the Congress has the right to enact a divorce law. 14. Divorce is only an option. Qualified spouses may or may not petition for divorce, or they may avail of dissolution of marriage based on psychological incapacity under Article 36 of the Family Code, annulment of marriage under Article 45 of the Family Code, or legal separation under Article 55 of the Family Code. 15. Under the bill, the state is mandated to make the divorce proceedings affordable and expeditious, which would do away with the cumbersome, lengthy, and expensive proceedings for dissolution of marriage based on psychological incapacity, legal separation, and annulment of marriage. The judge is mandated to decide the petition for divorce within 1 year from the expiration of the 60-day cooling-off period. 16. During the pendency of the divorce proceedings, or even after the grant of a divorce decree, the spouses can still reconcile and live together again. 17. A divorce decree entitles the parties the right to remarry and have another chance at marital bliss. 18. The divorce decree shall include and protect spousal support, children's support and custody, and respect of the children's legitimate as well as the interests of creditors. 19. The enactment of the absolute divorce law will not lead to the opening of floodgates to divorces. This is well documented in other countries. Finally, divorce stories can also be love stories, because it is an act of love of a woman for herself and her children when she gets out of an abusive, even life-threatening marriage. It becomes a love story when people have enough love and self-respect to refuse to be victims of infidelity and abuse. It becomes a love story when people continue to have faith in the beauty and promise of falling in love once more. Divorce becomes a love story when a wife or a husband realizes that love takes many faces: the embrace of a child, the sympathy of friends, the loyalty of relatives, and the judiciousness of the court. February is the month of hearts, and I know that in our hearts we realize and recognize that now is the time to finally enact an absolute divorce law. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the House of Representatives, I earnestly seek your collective support for the enactment of House Bill number 9349 or the Absolute Divorce Bill. Thank you so much.
As we all know and are frequently reminded, the Philippines remains the only country in the world that has not legalized divorce aside from Vatican City. And yet, unlike Vatican City, which is a small city-state consisting of 800 individuals, mostly religious and unmarried, the Philippines is not exempt from the crisis of failed, unhappy marriages, the result of infidelity, lack of commitment, domestic violence and abuse, and the resulting even more insidious crisis of children suffering, living in irretrievably broken marriages. Mr. Speaker, for some context, the campaign to legalize divorce in the Philippines is not new. It has been a long-standing battle. During the 17th Congress, similar measures were steered by the committee, approved by the House of Representatives in this hall, and was successfully transmitted to the Senate. Unfortunately, the Senate failed to act on the proposed measure. In the 18th Congress, the divorce bill did not pass, hindered as we were by the COVID-19 pandemic and the divergent, more urgent priorities that emerged as a result. And yet, this crisis of marriage continues today. We in the 19th Congress have today the historic opportunity to fill a gaping need that has remained unfulfilled for decades and for generations. Particularly, first, to provide relief to couples in irremediably broken and failed marriages and permit them to start again. Second, to give abused spouses the legal option, now almost impossible to obtain, to terminate their marriage and escape the bond that abusive partners use to further abuse. Third, to provide much-needed relief to innocent children caught in the crossfire. Mr. Speaker, may I ask that the lady from Negros Occidental, Congresswoman Juliet Ferrer, be recognized to sponsor the measure, Mr. Speaker.
Daghang salamat, Congressman Pablo John F. Garcia, 3rd District of Cebu.
Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, it is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor before this body House Bill number 9349 as contained in Committee Report number 962, entitled An Act Reinstituting Divorce as an Alternative Mode for the Dissolution of Marriage.
Gabriela Party List Representative Rosas, you're recognized, ma'am. Please proceed, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Gabriela Women's Party has been calling for the legalization of divorce in the Philippines since it clinched a seat in the 13th Congress of the House of Representatives. In 2005, Gabriela Women's Party filed a bill to legalize divorce in the Philippines. Almost 20 years later, the push to allow divorce as one of the ways by which to dissolve a marriage is still ongoing. And here we are today before the plenary to once again discuss legalizing divorce in the Philippines. Divorce is not a foreign concept in the world. Even with the global recognition of divorce as a legal way to dissolve a marriage, the Philippines is the only country to have no divorce law. But legalizing divorce is not just to belong to the huge circle of nations espousing divorce as a way to terminate marital relations. We, in Gabriela Women's Party, believe that beyond being part of this huge global circle, legalizing divorce is a means for abused women to be free from their domestic situation and allow them the opportunity to live a new life, free from violence and abuse. Divorce as a remedy need not be for the purpose of remarriage. It may be resorted to by individuals to achieve peace of mind and facilitate their pursuit of full human development.
This representation is 100% against absolute divorce in this country. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, if you go to the countries that have allowed divorce, it has opened the floodgates for broken families. They go to the wedding, and when they go there, they say, oh, anyway, if I commit a mistake, there is divorce, and we can just part. In America, Mr. Chairman, United States, Mr. Speaker, more than 52% of the children are growing up with only one parent. What a debacle. When a child is only nurtured by one parent instead of two, you see juvenile delinquency. You see, Mr. Speaker, drug addiction and all the problems because there's only one parent and then stepmother or father. But this is a short manifestation, Mr. Chairman, and I don't want to delay the proceedings because I've been advised that interpellation can be on the next subsequent hearings. Let me just therefore request that my name be placed in the list of interpellators to this bill and that I be notified so that we will be able to have a good debate on this, on whether even if we are only two countries and one is Vatican City, I maintain that because we are a country who believes in family as a social basic institution, the wedding, the marriage, I believe, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, that we should maintain the situation, the present dispensation. There's always Article 36, psychological incapacity, there's legal separation, there's annulment. If we want to increase, we can have more probably grounds, but to have absolute divorce, irreconcilable difference. They fight over the food. They fight over which TV channel they're going to have. And there can be divorce. And that is why, Mr. Chairman, the good thing about this country is there will be problems. No marriage has no problems. There will be problems, but because they are for the interest of the children, that the children will grow up to have two parents guiding them. They manage to reconcile and be able to love again, even if there were heated passions during the day, during their marriage. And so therefore, let us continue, Mr. Speaker, with what we have now. Our laws are already sufficient. Let us not open the floodgates for broken families in this country by making it open to everyone for divorce.